because they're like, I didn't even know about the match. That's because it was members only match. Yeah, and then that just kind of rolls
start
along.
building on that. Which
Right.
I think that reaction, like you said, for it's like Christmas. I think that's every gun owner, regardless whether they go to a gun show. Regardless, it's like Christmas.
Yeah, it's like Christmas, but it's better if you. Basically, the average prize for the last match, the average prize was $125.
Wow.
And we charged $150 for the match. And so there was guys that no matter where you finished,
Yeah.
you got $125 worth of product.
You basically paid $25 for the match.
You know, a buddy of mine got a law folder. Law folder is like $200.
Yeah.
Just depending on where you got a law folder, and he finished like last. So he's just like,
oh
hey,
yeah,
I did good, you know, but that kind of falls in. And the other thing that we wanted to do at the matches was we wanted to bring in, because I know it was one of the talking points of getting into precision shooting. One of the things we wanted with it was we wanted to bring in guys that have a normal gun, that just have, you know, if you've been, like I call it the primary and secondary gun. It's a 16-inch carbine or a 14.5 that's got a 1-6 on it.
That's actually funny that you brought that up, because that was literally my next question going to be to you is, how do we poors get into
the normies,
this type of stuff? Yeah, the normies and the poors.
and so what we wanted to do is, because that was what, well, for that finale, even though the finale didn't happen, I was buying all my ammo from Atlanta Arms. So I was emailing with those guys quite a bit because I was shooting a bunch of bullets, and I was like, hey guys, I can't get people, nobody wants to shoot this match, and one of the complaints is I don't have the ammo for it. And so would you guys want to give up 200 bullets to somebody to go shoot the match? I was like, I'll put rules on it, be like, hey, you have to sign up for the match, and I'll hand it to you at the match, or, you know, because I had 300 rounds. I sent them 100 rounds for load development. I'll hand them the other 200 at the match if they show up.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. I couldn't get anybody to take the ammo.
What?
Really?
They wouldn't sign up for the match because they're like, hey, man, I looked at that ammo and I can just buy that ammo for $250 and not have to worry about the match. So, and I was like, well, yeah. I mean, that's not the point, but the match is $250, but you don't have to pay that $250 for that ammo in addition to that. So it's not a $500 match, it's a $250 match.
Yeah.
And the only guys that I could get that were interested.
Yeah, I would have jumped all over that.
Yeah. The only guys that I could get that were interested didn't have a gun that would be competitive. So they're like, hey, I've got this 20-inch M16A4 clone with an ACOG on it. How am I going to do? And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm shooting at like 12 and 13 power every one of these matches. So the 4 power, you're going to be sucking. I was like, you're going to have fun, and I'll give you bullets. And so it's not going to cost you any money, but you're not going to have as good a time as you could. And so I couldn't get anybody to bite. So what we wanted to do when we built ours was have a spot for, if you have 4 power, the ability to get to 4 power or more, you can be competitive providing you have a good solid gun and you can shoot, right? It's going to be much harder down at that end, right? But that class is called general purpose, and it has a cap on it of 18 inches and 8 power. So nobody in that class is shooting above 8 power. I don't care if they're shooting a 6 Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, 5.56, 7.62, doesn't matter. They have no more than 8 power.
Oh, nice.
So trying to shoot a 1,000-yard target with an 8 power, I don't care what kind of gun you have. The caliber doesn't help you in that. It helps you with some wind, but it doesn't help, you know, because most of these scopes, when you get to 8 power, the reticle is so big. It's like, you know, it's like you're trying to see, like, shoot my face, and you're just like, that's too much, that's too little, and, you know, it's basically blocking because the reticle's so thick. So if I can't aim correctly, then that's the thing. So we didn't see a huge advantage or disadvantage for caliber on it. But that class, you can show up with your primary and secondary gun. If you have a 16-inch carbine with a match bullet, you can shoot 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes at the outside. If you've got a 2-minute or less capable gun, and you've got at least 4 power available, you can be competitive in.
Nice.
I wouldn't necessarily bring anything less than like 14.5, but we did for the first match, we proved everything with an 11.5, and I was able to get at least close enough. I didn't get all my hits, but I could get general vicinity with the 11.5 gun with the 1-to-6 loophole. So, 14.5 is good. It's solid 16-inch gun. We wanted to be able to do, now you're not going to get all your hits. It's just, this is not going to work out, right?
Yeah.
But that's the way it's designed, okay? So when we did the classes, we wanted to have the open class, the top end class, and I don't like calling it open, but and we don't, I think we call it something else. But anyway, I haven't looked at the rules in a couple months. But
that's fine. You're on a vacation, kind of.
yeah, yeah, we're in an off season. But with the top end guns, basically we wanted you to be able to get all your hits fast, right? The practical precision, we wanted you to get all your hits, but not necessarily fast. And then for the general purpose, you're going to be a little bit slower, and you weren't going to get all your hits. But you didn't have to put any money into the gun, because I could grab anything. If I got a 16-inch gun, and I've already got my primary and secondary gun, I can grab it. I can go to the match. And so I can see if I can like it or not, or if I see that if I'm any good at it or not, or see what these other things that are priority to buy before I start throwing money into scope and everything like that. So I can show up with that one. I'm probably not going to get all my hits, but that's what we wanted it to be. And the last match, we couldn't have paid money to get it to land like this. So the way the scoring works is the fastest guy gets all the points. Okay, so he gets 100%. And then your percentage of your time to his time. So whatever time he has, whatever your percentages of that, and we'll just make it 100. It's more than that, but we'll make it 100. So he gets 100 points. So basically, if you were, or 100 seconds. So if you were at 75 seconds, you get 75%, and so on and so forth. So the top guy, the fastest guy, was in that open class, and so he got 100 points. The guy in practical precision got 75 or 74%, and the guy in general purpose got like 51%, which is exactly what we wanted it to be. They got all their hits, but they were a little slower. And then the general purpose didn't get all their hits, and they were a little slower. It was like almost, and that's where we wanted it: 100 points, 75 points, and 50 points. So, like I say, with 75 competitors or whatever it was, to come in and do that and basically meet it meant that our rules were very close, and our stage plans and everything was very almost as advertised with the vision that we wanted, and that's where we wanted it at.
Nice.
That's awesome. So that just came out, like I said, that I couldn't have paid money for it, but it's it's there on practice score, and it's there, and it's and people can just go look at it, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to be anybody can show up to the match, and we want to have the prize table deep enough. We were able to do it last time. This one's going to be a little weird because you got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and SHOT Show all in between me and the match.
Oh, geez.
So where's everybody's focus at? Last week it was on ham and turkey. In 2 weeks it's going to be on Christmas and New Year's, and those 2 weeks in between those are all focused on SHOT Show prep.
Yeah.
And then after New Year's is finishing SHOT Show prep, and then SHOT Show, and then come back and be like, oh shit, we got a match in a week.
Yeah.
I didn't send you my stuff. So this one's going to be, I've already got a lot of stuff locked in. But I don't think the prize table is going to be as deep as last time. I'm hoping to get it there, but it's just keeping people focused on me, little old quantified performance, for 10 minutes, long enough to do do the stuff to kick it out the door. That's the challenge, and because I know we're in full SHOT Show prep right now. So even being during work time, even being able to think to send an email to a sponsor, and that's me trying to get it for my match. So this one may not be as many prizes, but I guarantee September is going to be prizes just falling out the door, and which is going to be cool. And then, like I say, if you have a gun and you show up to Georgia, you're going to be competitive. You're going to be able to see how you rate against other dudes, and you're going to get to shoot with these guys, because that's the other part of it is, well, a lot of veterans, and if you talk to vet dudes, and I don't know if you guys ever served or anything, we never talked about that, but if you talk to
I
vet
was
dudes,
medically disqualified.
Same here.
okay, you'll see these guys, and you see vets put up this picture, and it drives me crazy. But there's a picture that's got some guy, and he's like blasting near in his Afghanistan. He's like, boom, 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 and he's like, that feeling when you'll never be this awesome again, right? And it's just, I've met cooler people outside the Army than I met in 22 years in the Army. I've been out for 2 years, and just there's so many cool people, and there's so much knowledge outside of it. And just to getting meeting with those guys, because everybody's like, oh, the camaraderie of the Army. And I miss the camaraderie, and you see that a lot of times if you see vets talking about their time in service. And I've got guys that I can text now that we've never met in person, yet I can get things done that I could never get done in the Army. My aunt lives in Colorado, and she's 80, 81, 82. And the city got on her about mowing her lawn, and she didn't have enough money to pay somebody to come and mow her lawn. So I put it up on Facebook, and I was like, hey, is anybody near this place and could go run a lawnmower for like 20 minutes? And a guy I've never met in person drove 45 minutes and mowed her lawn.
Wow.
But that's just the people that I got to meet, on the outside.
Yeah.
And so getting guys together, shooting guns good, and learning from one another and making friends, and maybe get a little prize, and this time we're going to have food, and it's just, basically community building. And then when I get the sponsors there, because that's the other thing, is having that sponsor there on Sunday. Now, you guys that just can't send a text message to the guy from Loophole or the guy from Armageddon Gear.
Mm.
Now you get to walk up to that dude and you just be like, hey man, good to meet you. I've seen your stuff and I've used your product and I really like it. And just want to thank you for coming out. And you can do that handshake. You can press that flesh. And there's a common reason for it. It's not at a show. He's not there trying to sell stuff. He's there to support you guys shooting a match. So, and he's just like, hey, whoever it is, just gonna be like, cool, man. Hey, have you ever shot this gun? Have you ever done this? What do you think about 6.5 Creedmoor? What do you think about this glass? And you get to play with this product, and you get that interaction with it. And that's just, that's that community building that really what the Second Amendment needs. Is that community. Long-term goal for quantified performance, and I know I've been rambling for forever.
No, it's fine.
But long-term goal is, and the reason that we called it quantified performance is basically match performance, doing it on video, shooting groups, verified that it's at a range, doing some stuff to it, that sort of thing. What I want to be able to do is basically data mine for the year, basically all the rounds that went down range that people had posted on quantified performance, not on my own rounds, but the match rounds, and people putting up, hey, I went to the range and I fired 100 rounds. Here's 10 round groups, and pictures of them. So if you could data mine that, and I could get my voice in front of one of these anti-gun senators or one of these things that are saying these things are only used for evil purposes. I mean, think about it. If I have, 5,000 members that shoot 5,000 rounds a year, and I know every one of those bullets was safe because we have it either on video hitting a target, we had it at a match where we, had a guy watching it to make sure that it was on target, or he's shooting it on the paper, and I can be like, hey, look, here's 2 million rounds that were fired safely by these people. Here's their list of their names by these people all over in every state, all these rounds that were fired safely. Your argument is null. It's null and void. These were all safe rounds. They were all there. They were all done for sport. They were all done for target. They were all done for these things. And that sort of data right there, all the arguments that we're doing, were the clip versus magazine and all the stupid arguments that we're doing, just be like, we could have that, in that group, you could have all these rounds that are fired, whether it's 10,000 or whether it's 10 million rounds, whatever's in the group, however big we get. we've got those, and we can show that, and that's a valid argument point, because they have to defeat my numbers because they're quantified. I've got video, I've got match performance, and I've got holes in paper that are real. You have to prove this wrong. Here is all my data. Prove me wrong. And they can't do it. They're just like, oh, well, it looks scary. Well, fucking cool story, bro. They weren't scary. You know what I mean? And so that's what I want. That's a long-term goal. We're a long way from being able to do that. But that's, that'll be something that we can do and we have the ability to do. We just don't have the reach for it to get real numbers. But we get, 5,000 members in, 10,000 members, because primary and secondary between all the groups, I think he's got like 100,000 total members, 60,000 were the same people, but, throughout all the groups. And so if you were able to collect that data and, and have it in a certain kind of format, and you were able to share that, and you were able to get people paying attention to that, and then you could just drop it, drop it on people. I have no problem going on CNN. I don't know if my boss would have a problem with it, but if I got 5,000 or 10,000 members, I don't need a boss anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
But, I would go on CNN. I would sit there and, maybe put the, calm the beard down a little bit and go on CNN and be like, hey, that same thing. These rounds were fired safely. Here's my stuff. Go on my Instagram right now. Check it out. See what's going on. I will put your guy in the members group and let him go in there. Prove me wrong. And like I say,
and that's what the community needs is what your guys' long-term goal is, because there is all this infighting per se amongst us over stupid things like the magazine or the big luau or the shit that happened up in New York.
Right.
We won't even get on that.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was the best week ever.
I literally, at first I was like, oh shit, because we live in Ohio, and I'm like, I messaged him and I was like, oh dude, like shit's about to pop off. And then like the next day I was like, I am eating so much crow for this.
Yeah. And so the thing that I ran into was, and this is always, I knew it was going to be controversial when I said it, but it's something that has to be accepted. And I put it out. I didn't think about it enough. I put it out in the wrong order. I should have started with what I ended with, but I put up the picture or the video of Princess Leia dealing with Darth Vader in the very first Star Wars, right? And Darth Vader looks at her and he's like, "You're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away," or however he said it, right? She didn't even blink an eye. She got called a traitor. Okay, you're evil. You're the Empire. You called me a traitor. I don't give a fuck, right? It just so I mean and the forefathers had to accept that. They're like, you're doing treason. Patrick Henry got a speech interrupted by calls of treason, and he was like, okay, well I might as well make the most of it while I'm here, because you're already calling me a traitor. Didn't care. You're gonna get called those things. If you're breaking the law, you're gonna get called a criminal.
That's the second part that you put up. I actually liked when you put that up. I was like, I really like how he worded this.
So they have to accept that. If they're wanting to do criminal activity, you're a criminal. If you get caught and it was a felony, you're a felon. That just the way it is. But people don't want to hear that because they hide behind this. And I used to put up a picture of the Captain America shield. I had a buddy make it for me. It was a Captain America shield, but the star was gone, and it said 2 Alpha in it. So I call it the 2 Alpha shield. You just can't put up the shield and be like, I'm a law-abiding citizen. And you're in New York, where the law says you can't have 30-round magazines, and you got 30-round magazines. It's not true, right? Yeah. And it's integrity violations, and integrity goes a long way, perception-wise. If everybody knows you're a liar and you're saying something, you might be lying. That's if you lie, you get called a liar. That's where they have to accept. But I got called a bootlicker and a cuck And what else? A Tory. Somebody actually whipped out the old school term for it, being calling me a Tory. You know, I thought that was some effort.
You and Mike Santola from All Star Tactical had something in common this week.
Yeah. But then when it came out that this guy was a dirtbag, because I didn't care about this guy. I didn't care. I mean, he was in New York, and if he got red flagged, he got red flagged. That's life in New York. I lived there for 10 years. I was there. And yeah, and I was there pre-Sandy Hook, and I was there post-Sandy Hook. So before you could get away with stuff, before Sandy Hook and they did the SAFE Act, you could get away with it. You know, you had your military ID card, weren't supposed to have 7-round or 30-round magazines. But if I had my military ID card and I had my TA-50 with the magazines in it at the range, you didn't get fucked with because you were practicing your Army shit, you know. But if you didn't have that military ID card, you get burnt down. But I shot pistols because in New York, if you don't have a pistol permit, you can't touch a pistol. Like, you can't lay your hands on it. You can't go to the gun store and be like, hey, let me see that Glock.
Wow.
You can't be seen shooting it. You can't do anything. But I was sitting there one day shooting with a buddy of mine, and we were shooting guns, and we were shooting 30-round magazines, and we were both shooting them, and I was shooting this pistol. And the state trooper pulled up to the range, and while we were shooting, we turned around, and the troopers there were like, oh, man, we're going to jail. This is going to suck. And he was just like, hey, show me how you did that magazine release. And he didn't care. You know, he didn't even ask. That's just, but after the SAFE Act hit, they put the cops in a really weird position. And if the cop catches you with it and doesn't do anything, doesn't enforce that law, the New York, basically the Attorney General for New York is going to personally oversee the case against you. So if you're a state trooper or you're a cop and they catch you, you know, allowing somebody to have this thing, then the state of New York is going to come and burn you down. And you can't beat the Attorney General of New York. If you want to talk about corrupt lawyer politicians, that is the pinnacle. That's the dude. He's going to win. Wow. He's going to win that case, and you're going to get. So you go to jail. You let the guy go. You're pro Second Amendment. You let the guy go with 30-round magazines. You let the wrong person go. You get busted, and you go to jail for that guy, right? So it's a really weird dynamic because I know basically all the law enforcement officer guys that I know up there are pro Second Amendment. They're shooting, they're doing matches. The guys that I know that are professional, they have their law enforcement gun, but everything that they're doing outside of that, when they go to the range or whatever, they're using a compliant gun, right? They're not flaunting that they can have 30-round magazines and, you know, collapsing stocks and all that. But they don't want to enforce this law. They don't want to. They're against it, but it is still the law. So you're asking that guy to risk his freedom, his liberty, and because you wanted to break the law. And it's just a weird spot. And I know the cops volunteered for it because, yep, they got the job and all that stuff that people were saying, and they shouldn't enforce these laws. Yes. But you can't rightly ask someone to go to jail for you.
Yeah.
That's and that's what they're asking, right? And they're just like, well, if he enforces it, then he deserves to go to jail, or if he doesn't enforce it, you know, whatever. And, you know, people talk about shooting these guys. And okay, talk about the revolution, and they were talking about shooting regulars because they weren't seeing the British were coming because everybody was British. So they called them the regulars. So they started shooting the regulars. But that was a huge, when you get really into the history of it, that was a huge leap right there. And not everybody was down with it. The whole countryside didn't start shooting the regulars. Like, everybody was in the colonies was just like, oh, it's the boogaloo time, and just start dropping flint and shooting black powder at the regulars at that point. It wasn't somebody just turned a switch off and, oh, I'm American, get off my lawn, and start shooting people. So it was just a harder thing then, as thinking about shooting Army dudes and cops now. It was that huge of a transition, but there was a whole lot more stuff going on. And it took almost 15 years to get to that point. And people didn't even want to go then. Because if you look at Patrick Henry's speech, when he did the Liberty or Death speech, was after April 19th. It was like in June. They had already been doing the siege of Boston for months when he was trying to get Virginia to enter the war. You watch The Patriot, and it's not factually correct, but the feelings of that time were there. So they captured that. They were just like, dude goes down here, hey, I want to recruit people for the Continental Army. And people were like, we don't want your war. Keep it up north. It's not our war. And so people are not seeing the full story with that. And this guy in New York, whatever, even if he had got red flagged, it wouldn't have mattered because the support wasn't there. People were willing to kill people, supposedly willing to kill people, but they weren't willing to go to jail for it. And they weren't willing to get called a criminal. And they're like, hey, you're a criminal.
No, I'm
not. I'm not a fucking criminal. Fuck you. And it's like, whoa, dude, hey, dude, you got stuff that's illegal. Yes. Okay. And
you're
that was you're not a criminal until you get caught, but you are committing crimes. Right. And so, and that's that reality check is, just having deployed, having shot people, having dealt with that, having gone through that thing of, what is worth killing somebody over? Because Afghanistan, they're not wearing uniforms. So it's not like I'm shooting a guy in a bright green jacket or a bright red jacket. I'm not shooting that guy. You're shooting a guy. And there's a couple times where you're looking at this guy and fixing to, trying to decide if he's a bad guy or not. And you're looking through the optic on it and you're like, that's the guy that takes the trash off the base. That's, Saeed. I know the guy's name. So here you are looking at an optic going, I think that's a bad dude, but I know that guy. So you're trying to decide if he's a bad guy or a good guy, but he's somebody that but he's a foreign country guy, he's just, so having gone through that process.
Mind fuck in itself.
Yeah. And there's that mental process that you have to do, and some things, if you're going against the crown, you're a traitor or a rebel. And the movies make it sound, I'm a rebel. I'm a thing. And not all rebels are the same. And everybody's like, well, one man's rebel is one man's freedom fighter. I got it. It all depends on what side you're on. So, and if you win, because that was the other thing that you got to get to, is you have to win. Because until you win, you're a traitor and a rebel. But if you win, you're a freedom fighter and a patriot.
But it's only if you win.
It's only if you win. So you have to win. But if my feelings are hurt and I'm mad because I got called a criminal, probably not ready to win yet.
And we have a list of questions, which we're kind of jumping through some. I wanted to bring up the one thing I heard you talk about, the driveway special.
Driveway. Hang on.
Keith, he's busting out the driveway.
So there's two driveways.
Ooh.
So
really nice guns. My wife is sitting here